Welcome back to another episode of Combustion RC. In today's video, we're going to remind ourselves that education is important, but RC racing is importanter. On today's episode, we're going to be going into bag G, which is, as you can see on here and on here, it's our front gearbox and sway link. We're going to be putting on our arms and the front sway link. So we're going to be getting those going, as well as going in most likely into bag H. We'll see where we get from there. But today's going to be bag G for sure. It's basically just like the bag we just did on the rear, except for on the front. We don't really start getting into the crazy stuff until bag H when we get into the actual front parts. Right now it's just arms and sway link. Very similar. So let's go ahead and get to work. All right, so we're going to have our front end ready because you're going to need your front end. And just as orientation shows here, we're going to want it to have the output drive for the center shaft facing away from us and the shock standoffs facing towards us. So if you notice, we're going to be doing the same thing on here we did with the rear, with the sway link, the bushings, and the plastic pieces. So you're going to need your plastic pieces, your bushings, your sway link, and then 2 of your 3mm set screws, which means you're also going to need your 1.5mm driver. So we'll go ahead and get our set screw started just so that we don't have to worry about those, which I didn't do in the last one, probably should have. But you know, sometimes I just need to show you the hard way and the not hard way to do things, right? And if you've noticed, my fingernails are getting a little long. That's for a reason. When you're building and you got these little guys to grab, or the diff shims or things like that that you need a nail, it's best to just hold off on cutting your nails until you get that kit built, especially if you're planning on building that kit within a week or two. Nails ain't going to grow that fast, fellas. You're not going to have long, pointy, jagged ones like you just got, manicure done at the local salon or whatever. Is that what they call them? Is it a salon? Is it a nail salon, like a hair salon? Or do you call it like just the nail shop? What do you call those? Ladies that are watching, I grew up in a cosmetology home and I still don't know. So we're going to take our sway link. As you notice, the front one is narrower, so it's going to have a tighter bend. So we're going to want to work that through definitely before we put those bushings in, because it's going to be very tight with those bushings. And you work your bushing up and get it jammed in there. Well, you know what? I forgot to trim these, which means they're not going to go in. I forgot to trim both of these. So let this be an example. You always need to trim on things that go inserted. If it's something like the plastic bushings that go on the control arm that keep it from, just control your wheelbase a little more, those are fine. Those are fine to leave because they're not being inserted. They're not going into a groove that's specifically designed for the outer diameter of them. But these got to be taken care of. There we go. Why am I so darn jittery this morning? I haven't had that much coffee. Okay, yeah, I have. I've had a lot of coffee today. Don't judge now. Okay, you can judge. There we go. Once that thing stops wobbling, you know it finally actually touched the sway link. Like this one, she's wobbling all around. Like, oh, you want me to sit here? You want me to just stay right here? Nope, not gonna happen. Not gonna one bit happen. There we go. Oh my. That's got a bit of slop in there. Why has it got so much slop now? There we go. That's good. Perfect. All right, so the next thing we're going to need to do is keep our 1.5 over, bring over these two dudes, bring over these two set screws, bring over our sway links that go on the sway bar, and bring over the little balls here. So you're going to set that up just at the corner out of the way. You're going to need your thread lock, and just like on the last one, on the driver, just a touch of thread lock. Whoop. There's that. You know, it's funny, I also get extra shaky when I'm working with the smallest things on the kit. I don't get shaky with the bigger things now. I don't know why, but for some reason with the small things I get shaky. And you know, that's the things you don't want to be shaky with. It's like, I'm like, oh, okay, don't drop it now, don't drop it. Slow down, Michael J. Fox. All right. So then, where'd they go? So then, you're going to need these pliers again with that. You're going to need these pliers again here with the handy pusher. Drop the ball on one side. Pop it in. Uh-oh, too far. There we go. You just gotta push it back up and drop the ball again. This is the one time that you can drop the ball and be doing the right thing. There we go. There we go. I tried to limit my squeeze a little more that time so I didn't push it all the way through. Because didn't really want to push it all the way through. All right, so now just like the last time, we're going to get this the other way around. Flush with the end. And snug it up. Let the thread lock. Let the thread lock. Say that 5 times fast. Do the work it needs to do from there. You do the same on this side. And wipe off your excess blue stuff. There we go. Yay. Sway link is in place. All right. Next, we're going to grab our B block because our A block goes on the front. The B block is what goes underneath the outdrive for the center. And we're going to be, again, using the center dots. And then we're going to use these guys here. So if you've got your bag that you put your center dots in, you're going to need that next. I put all of my extra parts in the same bag. So now I got to dig in here and find the center blocks. All right, so we have our pills here that are the center blocks, as you notice here. So they got the dot in the middle there. That is how you know that is in the middle. So we're gonna get back to working down here now. So we're gonna grab our B block, which is the one without the ears. The ears are the A block. No ears is the B block. Just as last time, we're gonna need 2 of these screws here. That's our M4 by 14s, I believe. M4 by 14. Yep, those guys there, which go into a 2.5 driver. Put your pills in. Yep. Yeah, oh, there it is. Yep. All right, so there's our B block on. These pills, go ahead and take these pills just so we don't lose them. and put them in your A block. We know that they're centers, so it doesn't matter which way they go in, so just shove them in there. Okay, so there's that part done. Next thing we're going to be on to here is step number G4, which, look at that, we're putting our pills in our A block anyway. And we're going to be grabbing our hinge pins and our front control arms. So these go on like so. Now remember, this is where these long top hat looking things, you know, the 10-gallon top hats, go into the control arms, into these sides. So let's go ahead and put those in. Whoa, that just slipped right in there. All right, that one has a little bit more of a fit. Oh yes, and our droop screws. Since that one's loose, I think this one's gonna be okay. Nope, I can pull it out. All right, so we're gonna need these. Now before we move any further along here, I wanna make sure that we go ahead and put our droop screws in. So just like on the back, grab your 2.5, stick it in there on the bottom. You see it's the only screw that goes in the bottom. Drive it in, take it out. Check to see if there's nylon in the thread. There is not. So we're gonna go ahead and do that a couple more times. I think we've got enough. I think we got a little bit on there that time. There we go. And we got our excess out. Should be a nice fit. Perfect. I'm gonna do the same on the other arm. There she came out. Is there any on? Wow, the threads are clean though. Still, there's some in there. See, the reason I say that is because you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but I can see the threads hanging up on the inside. And I don't think I can get my needle nose on the edge of it enough to pull it out, because I don't want to damage the threads that are there. So I just want that to, that time I got a hold of it. And it chopped up some of the excess that was in there. There we go. Now we don't have to worry about that sticking. See? Perfect. Droop screws are in. And they'll have room to move. All right, so then we put our top hats in here like we did on the rears. Okay. They want this facing this direction. And these arms do have a bit of a twist to them. Pretty interesting design. I've not seen a twisted arm before. But considering it's going to be under stress and want to twist like that anyway, why not make it to where it's already kind of there. So now we're going to put our hinge pins in place on our B block. Going to hold the sway link up while we slide the arms on. Okay. And then you can even set this screw through the sway link just to help give it something else holding it here. And we can go ahead and drill that in. Now that's tight. I'll slide this arm on. And let's go ahead and do the same with this sway link. Now we don't have to worry about our sway links falling off because our control arm, or our control arm's falling off because our sway links are holding it in. So now you're going to take your B block. Sorry, this is your A block. We already did the B block. You're going to take your A block. Don't mind me. So now you're going to take your A block. We're going to just push it on the hinge pins and then do the same thing we did on the rear and get it lined up. Turn it around. And if you notice here, this screw goes through the bumper. So our front bumper is going to go on there as well. Make sure the notched part is facing up. Just like so. And then through there. There we go. And then we're definitely going to move on to bag H today because bag G did not take very long at all. So there is the control arm portion of this. So now we're going to move on to bag H. Go ahead and cut open this bag, get everything sorted out, and we'll be on to bag H here in just a moment. So now we're on to bag H. As you can tell, we've got quite a few pieces here and a lot more hardware than we had in our back hubs. These front hubs are consistent of many different things. I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera up, and I'm going to show you a few of the different items in the instruction manual upright so that it's not upside down, and we can go through, because some of these things have names you might not have heard of before, or maybe you call them something different because you work on real cars. So let's go over some of these part names. If you notice here, we've got, just like our real one, we've got our axle or axle shaft and yoke and drive shaft, full drive shaft assembly, whatever you want to call it. The other thing you're going to have here is, this is called the carrier assembly or spindle. There's a few different names for some of these items. This can be called your hub carrier or your steering block, or essentially, you know, spindle on a real car is what they would call that. This little carbon fiber plate right here is your steering plate or Ackerman plate, because it changes. If you get longer ones, it will actually change the Ackerman angles. So Ackerman angles, when your wheels are turned, one of them will turn more, the same, or less than the other. Down here, this big C-shaped piece right here, this is called your caster block. It's easy to remember because caster starts with C, and that looks like a C. So just remember, if it's C-shaped on the front end, it's called a caster block. Aside from that, it's pretty much the same as the rear. We've got our turnbuckles, which are these dudes here. We've got our rod ends, which are these dudes here. Yep, we got more turnbuckles to build, and we have 2 more after this. And then there's some funny looking things. There's these 2mm and 1mm top hats, but then there's these things here that I'm actually not sure what the name of for this, because it's a weird pin with the flat head on the end with a spot for what looks like a set screw to go in it, and I have no idea. I've never seen anything like that. I couldn't tell you what that's actually called. That's a new one. I've built a lot of kits, and that's a new one. So if you know what that's called, like maybe you work for Fastenal or something, please tell me, because there's a couple of metal ones, there's a couple of black ones, and I don't know what they're called. All right, so we've got our front end here. We've got our axles. Let's go ahead and start getting these hubs put together. So we've got our steering block or steering hub. I'm gonna go ahead and, just like the back ones, put the big bearing on the inside. These are gonna be a little bit more difficult because they drop way down in there. So you're gonna have to kind of finagle it into that first line. Sometimes it's best to get a finger on there just to line it up, and then it will drop in place. And then the flared bearing goes on the outside, or flanged bearing, flared bearing, flanged bearing, same thing. Okay, and then this goes through. And then just like the rears, you're gonna wanna get your 2.5, this big fat guy right here. All right, then you're just gonna take your thread lock and put a little dotted thread lock on there. Whoa, a little dot too much maybe, but that's okay. Get that, kind of hold it in there. You're gonna grab this guy here, slide it down just like the rear. Make sure to put your pin in with the bevel side facing up. And then get this guy right down in the middle. And there you go. And if you're like, how do I get that out once it's in, because it has thread lock in there? Well, that's the great thing about the wheel wrenches. The wheel wrench goes right over that 17mm hub, just like so. And then you put your wrench down the middle, right on that set screw, and you can then hold your axle at the same time as loosening that once it's set. And that's the whole reason for the design of having the hole in the back of it. So now you know why there's a hole in the back of all of your 17mm wrenches. We're gonna go ahead and build this other one the exact same way, just so that our primary hub area is done. Apparently I can't just set it in there like normal, so we're gonna have to do the old pinky to line it up trick here again and get our pinky stuck. There we go. Flare. Axle in. set screw, thread lock, hub, pin, set screw in, and voila. They're both done. So the bottom of these are curved. So if you look, the top is a 90-degree edge and the bottom is a curved edge. I don't know if you can really see that right there, but if you look close at yours, you'll see it. So you got a rounded edge and a 90-degree edge. The 90-degree edge is the side that you actually put the plate on. So the plate is going to go, plate's going to go on like so, with TKR 1404. That is 3x12 button head. So that is going to be the smaller of the screws, which are 2mm, I do believe. Yes, they are. Oh, and my 2mm is magnetic, so I couldn't just easily adjust that. Oh, well, come on now, you're magnetic and then you don't want to hang on? Maybe I made it reverse polarity. It's throwing it away instead of taking it. Okay, yep. Okay. And this one. Hey, whoop, back up. All right. And just for the sake of the speed of the video, I'm gonna go ahead and use our 2mm speed tip. You know, old Wobble Bob. We haven't used him in a little while. I'm gonna go ahead and push this down to make sure it's flat so it doesn't break the carbon fiber. All right, and if you remember in all my old videos, if you've seen them, if not, this is the first time, this is for you. Since this is the first carbon fiber piece we're putting on, make sure that you do not screw them all the way down. See how it's loose? You want to screw that in, you want to snug it by hand, because if your driver isn't set to a good torque rating, like this one starts hammering at just 3 foot-pounds. If it hits that point where it's hammering at like 10 foot-pounds, you're at risk of cracking your carbon fiber. That is one thing about getting, if you're gonna get a high-powered lithium driver like the Bosch here is, make sure you get a good one so that it doesn't hit the impact point too late in the torque spread. So the last thing you want to do is crack carbon fiber, because believe it or not, these little things are expensive. I think a pair of these is like 20 bucks. All right, I do believe that that's all we have for these. Yep, so we just need to get the other one on. This one's just gonna be in the opposite direction. So you want that curve to come towards the axle, okay? You know, if you've got some of those things like the pink ball stud washers that we put on the rear, you can put some of the super thin, like 0.5mm ones underneath here, just to give it a little pink bling if you wanted to. That's not gonna hurt anything. I actually thought about doing that just for the heck of it, but these are gonna be underneath the wheels, so you're not gonna see it anyway, so it's kind of pointless. Unless your wheels are off at your pit station, nobody's gonna see it's there and it's only for your show. Now everything else, except for our little guys, wherever they go, where do the little guys go? All right, so we're gonna switch this out to the 2.5 because they go into the aluminum and they go into these weird set pins that we just talked about. And so these little guys get thread locked. So we're just gonna hand tighten those. So we're just gonna use a hand driver for those little dudes. You stay over there now. And so your axle height here is gonna be, it gives you the option for low and then high. Must use same color sleeve pins together. So dark to dark, light to, okay. Here's what it's talking about. So we've got, these are called sleeves. I'm sorry, these are pins. These are sleeves. So it's saying make sure you put the same color together because they're different diameters. Okay, so we need those on top, and then we need the thick ones on the bottom, it looks like. Yeah, the thick shorty guys. And the pin with the funky flat sides, which we have 2 of, looks like here. because these other ones look like the big round ones. And see, these have the funky flat side where the set screw goes up here, and the longer round ones, they have where the set screws at the tip, and also the end is more rounded. It has a slight flat side. So these are kind of cool, actually. It's kind of a cool design. So this is going to be, which one is this? Is this right or this is right? Yeah, so this is right. So we need our right side. See, it says R. R. And that's going to slip over just like so. So we need to go ahead and do our thread lock and tiny screws, which there's 2 of. Just so that these are in the aluminum and ready to go. There's seriously enough thread lock on the outside of that to actually do that screw. Probably. We're going to give it a little tap though. Alright, so we need 1 in the top. And we'll wait as soon as I see it through the top hole there. As soon as I see it there, I'm going to back it back out a little. And 1 through the bottom. Oh, it just spooched up on the head of it. Well. Whoa, hello. Hey now. That's excessive. What in the world? Didn't come out as okay. Well, you know, I guess it's better to have too much than not enough. I don't know. Sure. Perfect. And okay, so now we're going to take this. We're going to put a silver hat on the top. Hello, silver hat. Put one of the thick, short black ones on the bottom. Hello. Then this is going to slide over like so. And then you have to hold this from spinning, all the while trying to get it lined up. And then the silver one goes in the top. You want that flat side to go against the arm like that. We're going to go ahead and just snug that down like that. And then the bottom side is the same way. The flat side is going to actually it's going to be a little different because it needs to, well, I think I got that in there a little bit too far. Let's try it again. There we go. This one doesn't have an arm to set it on, so it's just got to be, make sure the flat side is facing the screw. All right, now we're going to get a little piece of paper towel because we got some excess here. So there is our nice caster block. Beautiful. Interesting. So these other ones actually go on the bottom. It looks like that's what they use for hinge pins instead of an actual hinge pin. Well, that is the strangest thing I do think I have ever seen. All right, so let's get this other side done before we move on, but I just saw something in the next page that's super cool. We're gonna go ahead and move these over to the side. We aren't gonna need these just yet. Besides that, I don't like looking at them. They're scary. Scary! All right, so we need this and this. Boop. We need 2 of these screws. Uh-oh, got blue stuff on the counter. Oh, it's staining the white. It's dirty. I've had too much coffee today. My goodness. Is a pot of coffee too much coffee to have in one day? So this one, whoop, right there, is going to go on the car like so. Which means this needs to go on like this. Okay. The good thing is you can only put it on one way, it looks like. But knowing me, I would figure out a way to make it not go on one way. You know? I'm trying not to do the old thing like I did last time. Where is the... I can see the air bubble, and it's trying to do the same thing again. Yep. Yeah. Why do you feel loose? You act like you're getting worn out or something, like you built a whole bunch of kits. You're only like 7 years old. Yes, I said 7 years old. That's how good these tools are. Am I going to have to get another kit soon? Probably. But they're well worth it. They last for a long time. All right. So, we've got our things there. We've got our things here. We just need to try to get this in here. Wobble, finagle, get it. Okay. Up. Oh, too far. Ah, come on down. Yep. All right. Top is lined up. There we go. Now we gotta get the bottom one. Yeah, there we go. All right. Make sure those are good and tight. There's actually a little bit. Did I put these on upside? No, I did not. There's a little bit of rub up here. I'm surprised to see that. Was that on this one too? No, there is no rub on that one. Why does this one have some rub on it? It's like the machining was just slightly off. I mean, it's there, but it's... Oh, I see. There's just a little bump in the plastic, in the machining, in the form of the plastic. That's all it is. It'll go away. That's fine. That's not a big deal. So now we're going to take our front end assembly here, and we're going to need more thread lock, so just leave that there. We're going to take our front end assembly. We're going to turn it around so that the drive cup for the center faces us. And we're going to start with our, see, L is left, R is right. So, switch the sides around here. There we go, right side. We're going to start with our right side. And they want these here, and 2 on each side. So 2 to this side, 2 to this side, 2 of these to this side, 2 of these to this side. Then we got 2 of these little set screws over here, 2 of these little set screws over here. This guy here, yeah, there we go. First things first, let's go ahead and put our sleeves in. Yep, there's one. And there's 2. And then, there, yep, okay. Get off of there. So we're gonna go ahead and get some thread lock on these guys and get them in these 2 bottom holes. Just started, not like screwed in, just started. Okay. And this one's kind of tucked under here a little bit. Oh, I got way too much thread lock on that one. Hello. Oofta. All right. And then work that in. Just work it out. Work it out. There we go. Get it straightened out there with facing the set screw. And the set screw should pull it flush as it goes in. Perfect, it did. So you'll be able to see on this side a little bit better. See, there's a flat spot there. And then you want that to go in towards the set screw. And then drive your set screw in to the flat spot. And you can feel it you actually feel it move into place there, and then you can feel it pivot on it. So that's a really cool design. I actually kind of like that. No hinge pins on the front control arms. That is the most unusual but cool thing I've seen in a while. What do you know? All right, I'm going to spin this around this way just because it helps me out, you know. And we're going to go ahead and get these two set screws here in and ready to go. Same as the other ones, just like so. There we go, perfect. And like that, and that. All right, and then let's put our collars inside of our control arms here. If you've built old school hot rods, you probably refer to these as A-arms because on old hot rods they looked like A's. And then slide that in and set our set screw. There, nice. That was perfect. And then same on this side. We're going to try to line it up. Come on. You're gonna line it up. I said you're gonna line it up. Goodness. Would you just go? I'm fine. I'm fine. I am fine. Nope, I'm not fine. This pin is not straight. There we go. Flat spot was facing up instead of... Now, would you... There it goes. It was facing up and it tried to back out, so the flat spot wasn't in the right spot, and these have an extreme kick up on these hubs. That is nuts. So not only is the arm twisted, but then there's an additional kick. What is the kick up on? It's like 35 degrees? Or is that what the 21 in the front's for? Is it there are 21 degree kick ups? But if you look, you can see the control arm is twisted at an angle. Well, no, you can't see. There we go. If you see there, the control arm is twisted, and then so for kick up, and then this is actually at an angle for even more kick up. It's pretty crazy, actually. Pretty crazy. All right, so we're going to put the cap back on our thread lock because I don't think we're going to need it anymore. We might. Not sure. We'll find out. And then we're going to spin this around because that's the way the picture is still facing us. We got parts yet now. Bag H has a whole nother page. We got, ooh, yucky. And you know what? This is using these as shims, so I'm going to go ahead and use some pink half mils, I think, because that's essentially what that is. Instead of those washers, I'm going to actually use my pink shims because I can. And so we got 2 kinked ones, 2 straight ones, 2 turnbuckles, and 4 of the same type of ball. Okay? So we're going to get those on with our ball press. Maybe. That's why you need something like this, because if you plan on pushing those in with your hand, remind me not to make you mad, because that just means you're a gorilla. So I'm pretty sure only a gorilla could actually push these in by hand. All right. Perfect. But look how nice and loose they are once they're in there. They're just super wobbly, no restriction at all. All right, so now we're gonna attempt to do what we did last time with starting with the puck buddy and then using our Kyosho wrench to go from there. If you have a nice set of wrenches, I'm a little jealous, to be honest. I'm going to put this one on here. And on this one, it wants to line with the kinked one. I'm telling you, the right hand thread on these is a piece of cake. Cake. It's just that left one that defies all... Well, man. It's just that left one that defies all odds. You better go straight, buddy. You know it's got some friction when you're driving it on and you can feel the heat running through your fingers to the point where you're like, am I cooking this steel or no? I swear there's something different about the left-hand threads. They do not want to go on nearly as easy as the rights. Will you just stay in the... There we go. Yep. You know what I just realized that I forgot? I forgot that I usually use shock oil on these. It needs to go further? My goodness. I think that was a turn and a half, but let's see. Let's just see. All right, so the reverse thread straight one needs to go probably another half turn. Is that right? Nope, another half, so another full turn. How about now? There we go. That, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on just to give my hands a break. Actually, no, I'm not, because it doesn't want me to do it that way. All right, we'll do it the way you want. So this one goes on the left side of the car, so over here. Because that kick up goes to go over the caster. Now we got the right one. We have the non-lined side, which is our reverse thread, with the straight edge. Are any of you old enough to remember back when you were in school and people were straight edge and what that meant? Why don't you comment down below if you remember that? Let's just have a little conversation in the comments. You know, I wouldn't mind if you guys had some conversation in the comments, because when these premiere, I usually am on here trying to make sure that I'm, you know, with y'all on that first premiere. So I try to have some live comments going, and if not, I usually try to get back and comment. I'm doing better about getting back and commenting than I used to be. I used to be really bad about it. I know I was off of here for like 3 weeks while we were moving, but I did get that straightened out, and I've replied to all the comments that I missed. Some of them might look like they were a little bit time sensitive, which I apologize. Jeez, that got hot. It's crazy when plastic gets hot. What is up with all these fruit flies? It's like you bought bananas or something, but all we did was... Oh, that's right, the kids played in the sprinkler today. For some reason, that seems to always bring them in. And get that started with that 5.5 just to have something bigger to grab, but I gotta use the actual 5 on this wrench to get it on. Since I kind of know how far I went last time, past the cover, you know, covering the thread, I think we can do a little better at this time's build. Closer, but still not quite a cigar. I think that side needs to go in one more turn, actually. And this side can go half a turn. There we go. That looks good. Now that my hands hurt again, it's a good time, isn't it? Look at that. There has got to be an easier way to make turnbuckles. You know, just, there's got to be. Build tip, use some grease or chapstick to make assembly future adjustments easier. Yeah, you know, if you're smart, you can do that kind of stuff. If you're smart. Now, what in the... I built both of those the same darn way. Because this... It's not right. Look, line, kink side, but they tell you to put it both to the left. You can't. This should be flipped. So this one, the line should be on the straight side. And then the... Yep, they didn't flip the turnbuckle in this image. I found an uh-oh. Tekno, I found an uh-oh. So we're gonna have one turnbuckle that's backwards on the front, because I'm not taking it back apart to change it. I just don't feel like doing that. All right, we're gonna go through the front with the screws, like so. And it says what, the middle one or the bottom one? Looks like the bottom one. Looks like they want the bottom one. It's pointing at the bottom one, so I'm gonna say the bottom. So we're gonna go bottom, and then instead of using the goofy little washer, I'm gonna use my pink washer, because I can, even though you probably won't be able to see it. You can still see it in there a touch. Yeah, not bad. It's just a little bit there, but it's there. And then, will you just dag-nabbit? There we go. Nice. Then you grab your 5.5, stick it on here. Grab your 2.5, and just let her eat. till she stops. And same on this one. You're going to put this through the front on the middle hole. Okay. And then a washer, which you can use the kit washer. That's fine. I'm just using these because I got these pink ones. And then a nut. You know, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Almond Joy has nuts, Bounds don't. You know, when I remember commercials with jingles, I realize how old I really am. Considering how long has it been since commercials have had jingles? A while. A long while. Go to our middle. And then get that on. Whoa, hang on now. Got a little aggressive with it. All right, so there's those. Cool, cool. All right, what is next? What's next? Next is our steering rack assembly and our front end assembly to the chassis. Okay, and our center diff assembly. Let's save that for our next video. Let's just call this a day. Let's give our hands a break. Okay, let's give our hands a break now, guys. After some turnbuckles, you need a break. We're gonna call this one a day. This will keep this video at a decent length, and then, you know, when you want to pick back up, you can pick back up in the next video pretty easily. All right, so that's gonna do it for today. So until next time, keep the shiny side up, the rubber side down. Remember to stay in the groove.